Swerve in Our Glory against the Acclaimed. One thing about this show is that outside of like the MJF segment, like it was match, maybe quick video, match. It was just...
It was a pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was the pay-per-view style of layout where they wanted to give all of these matches as much time as they could have and cut out whatever small amount of fat that there was.
It was a 2-hour pay-per-view. It felt like an old takeover.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea, I feel, of the layout. So Swerve in Our Glory against the Acclaimed for the tag titles. We have Fabulous coming out with Swerve Strickland. And
Fabulous finally made it to a wrestling show. After all those John Cena WrestleMania 19 rumors.
That's right. I mean,
only took him 19 years.
He should have come out with like a cardboard cutout of John Cena and destroyed it.
I think everybody in that building would have understood the reference, but yeah, definitely.
And then the Acclaimed have a DJ Woo Kid with them.
Who Kid?
Who Kid?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Explain. Were you familiar with DJ Who Kid?
Yeah, he's like a G Unit's DJ, like a mixtape guy.
I like the fact that they had like these like people in their corner. I think it just added to this show overall of just having, you know, outside celebrities on this show that they put throughout and on the next show as well.
I honestly haven't been following like too much hip hop like in the past, I don't know, like 5-6 years. So I don't know how relevant these names really are today. Like I guess
this guy's pretty popular. Like, don't go by my recognition factor. Like he's pretty well known.
Yeah, no, I know that, but like, is this like do certain apparent like is it Tony Khan catering to like people of his age demographic, our age demographic, you know, that were like really into like music in early 2000s, or like or I mean, but like they're kind of across the board. Like they have a lot of new rappers in occasionally as well. So yeah, no, this was great. Like, you know, 2 New York sort of area things.
So the match begins, and early on, Keith Lee gets lifted in the air and hits a Rana onto Anthony Bowens, and Taz compares it to when he was wrestling Bam Bam Bigelow. And we see, I thought Swerve, in terms of working as a heel, was fantastic in this. Like this crowd hated Swerve in Our Glory. Like it was real heat that these two got, and of course, loved the Acclaimed. And I skipped over, but Max Caster came out and did a rap mentioning Little Mermaid and calling them Swerve in a Glory Hole. And the crowd loved this.
Yeah. He must have been saving that one for a while.
You have to think that he had this one in the chamber, this whole feud, and realized, okay, when they knew, okay, we're doing
Glory Hole. Huh. I can't use that right away. You better save that for 3 weeks.
So, anyway, we have Lee here dumping Bowens onto the ramp with a Beal. They just continually boo. Lee missed a moonsault off the second turnbuckle as Caster moved, and then Swerve grabs the boombox and nails Keith Lee by mistake, and the Acclaim, they scissor on the apron. Blockbuster by Bowens, but Max Caster, who injured his knee earlier in the match after Swerve attacked him, can't hit the mic drop as his knee gives out. So it's like this golden opportunity after the boombox shot, and they can't capitalize. So the announcers explain that I don't think Max is going to return to the match now. I think he's out within 30 seconds of them saying that Bowens is tagging in Caster and he's in there with Swerve. And anyway, he continues. So Swerve has him on the turnbuckle and like sent him off the turnbuckle. And I guess he was meant to be hit with a pounce from Lee, but it was just timed completely wrong. So they just sort of had to improvise this. And Lee just lifts up Caster into a sit-out powerbomb by Swerve for a 2 count. And I like the fact that they didn't just try to reset and do this over again, because it was probably one of the more elaborate things they thought up, but it was totally mistimed. Let's just move on. And people forgot about it.
Yeah, definitely a blemish, yes.
Springboard 450 by Swerve to both on the floor, and then he has a face-off with Billy Gunn, and when the referee's back is turned, it leads to a famouser, and Lee gets drop kicked to the ramp, mic drop is hit, and Lee is too late to make the save, and when this 3 count is made at 13:42, this place erupted. I thought this was the biggest pop on the entire show, and that was saying something. They were a very loud crowd, but this to me was the biggest reaction of the night. as everyone expected. I don't think this came close to their pay-per-view match, but the reaction, they felt like absolute superstars winning these tag titles, and they had the confetti celebration, and yeah, their biggest positioning since coming to AEW. Like, this was their biggest presentation, I would say. Not their best match, but still, it was, to me, it was the pop was much more important than just having a great match with a good crowd reaction. All
that mattered tonight. Obviously, they couldn't have had a shitty match, but I would say the one requirement, the rest of the show could have been like really awful, but like, or could have been great, I should say. But if the Acclaimed did not win, you would have been hearing about that, you know, for the rest of at least the next 2 weeks, you know, like this had to have been the one result that needed to occur tonight, because this much of this crowd paying to see tickets, like, this was the top thing that they wanted to see. By the way, like, apparently great turnout for Davey's pre-party. All those guys bought Acclaim shirts, and they were all like, they were all dressed up in Acclaim shirts heading to the show.
I wonder how high they're up on in terms of AEW merch sellers. Like, I would imagine they've got to be top 3 at this point, top 4.
You know, maybe Scrump can let us know about that, or maybe we'll just go to the website and check that out ourselves. But I'm in agreement though that the All Out match was better, but it was the setting, the atmosphere of this one that. And the size, obviously, you know, that made it feel bigger and special. And the win, of course, making it, you know, so much more worthwhile in the overall story. They, you know, they went the route of like adding some shenanigans in the back or at the end with like Billy Gunn doing the famouser leading to the finish, I suppose, to justify and to protect Swerve and Lee. You would assume leading to a third match, at some point in the near future. I don't get mad at that. I think it's kind of necessary in some ways to, you know, leave enough interest for a third match.
Well, despite what the lineup was for tonight's Dynamite, they do have Battle of the Belts in 2 weeks.
Interesting. I mean, this feels like it's too big of a match to put on Battle of the Belts, which I'm sorry. Like,
well, that right there tells you the problem with Battle of the Belts, when you think this match is too big for what people look as just the second hour of Rampage.
Yeah, it feels less important than Rampage by this point, but they've like what a success story like the Acclaimed has been for AEW. You know, like, unlike the Bucks, unlike, you know, Page and Omega, unlike the Lucha Brothers, like, they are every bit an AEW original tag team put together.
This is just Tony's idea. He just thought these two will work well together and had the idea of the Acclaimed. Like, this was totally out of his brain. It wasn't like something brought to him. It was just an organic idea they had. And, you know, it was like they had a nice act going. The rap thing typically got over, but it was like the scissoring and Billy Gunn. That was like Billy Gunn is part of this. Like, I think Billy Gunn was like the finishing touch that brought this thing into just something really, everything clicked. Like, Billy Gunn plays a role here, even though it seems like an odd fit. Like, he completes this act.
I do completely agree. They were already a good act, but the scissoring, like, is their suck it that really took them over the edge. You know, you add, like, it's their Too Sweet. You know, that really takes, I think, a good tag team to being a tag team that you just can't get out of your head because everybody wants to scissor. And they've just created some incredible momentum. And, you know, let's give the credit before he complains to Swerve and Lee, who have advanced, I would say, just as much, you know, throughout this entire program. And they themselves, what they've got going on right now, whereas before I think I was maybe a little bit muddied, I'm now really interested, because throughout all of this, they've, you know, definitely leaned towards more of the heel direction. But Keith Lee's still very much like, you know, there's plausible deniability in his heelness. He's still very much like a babyface that's just kind of in this role, whereas Swerve is still very much, at this point, is very much like, feels like he's a deliberate heel.
Yeah, so, I mean, you could go the breakup route, but I think for sure there's a third match to do. I would do that. I really like Swerve and Lee as a tag team. I feel they're, you know, I think that this Acclaim program is what this tag title run is going to be remembered for. But I think they had a very underrated run when you go back and look at the consistency they had with their tag title matches. The match with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus that was so late on that pay-per-view, like just a super long pay-per-view, and they went out and killed that late in the show. Like, they were guys that they had a very like a consistency about them that they could get over in any position. And I think like this was a really nice tag title run that the two had.
I would say 90% of the tag teams like in AEW, I don't think you can like, you know, in ring that they can bring the quality, but it was more so I think the storytelling and really the airtime and the character that was really missing for them. And this Acclaimed feud has given it to them. So I think they're just getting started. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up winning the titles back if they do end up doing a third match between them. So there's still a whole lot more story to tell with those two.
Yeah, the Acclaimed and Billy, they scissored in the ring. Swerve is just in shock watching as he's walking up the ramp, and Keith Lee just looked like he was more sad than Daniel Garcia was earlier. I mean, he just looked so heartbroken at this loss, and they did not leave together, but certainly there will be follow-up.